Fiction and reality. New stories, new ideas. Little Beth Entertainment.
Welcome to episode 114 of The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com. In this episode, we'll be talking about the HotNozzleSummer event. Jenna Kay Foertsch is the one responsible for making it happen, and she joins us from the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Yes, that Houston. Anyway, she joins us from there to talk about how the event came about and how things went. Also, for our supporters on Patreon, we're trying something different, so stick around at the end of the episode for that. Stay with us. The Rocketry Show begins right after this.
The Rocketry Show thanks RocketryForum.com for their support. This is Jesse, and I've been a member for 4 years. The Rocketry Forum is a global community of Rocketeers who openly discuss all aspects of hobby rocketry. If you have a question, hop on and ask. There are hundreds of experts who can answer just about any rocketry question you have. You can also find me by searching for Model Rocket Guy, and I'll be happy to help any way that I can. Check them out today at RocketryForum.com.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Welcome to The Rocketry Show.
All right, lift off and the clock is started. Yes, sir. Reading loud and clear.
A podcast that is all about advanced and high-power rocketry. Amateur-built rockets, starting at mid-power to higher-power versions that can reach the edges of space. This program is hosted by the team who love the smell of burning ammonium perchlorate in the morning. Here are CG, Gene, and model rocket guy, Jesse Yu.
That's right. The gang is all here. Welcome to another edition of The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com. I'm CG.
I'm Gene.
And I'm Jesse Yu, Model Rocket Guy.
All righty, and we've got a great show here lined up for you on The Rocketry Show. And you've heard us mention before about HotNozzleSummer. We've been talking off and on it, and Gene was the one who was really on his hound nose is on this one, and he picked up on that and told us all about it. And we've been kind of following it with Discord and on the other social media platforms. And HotNozzleSummer happened. And if you want to know more about what that was all about, how it went, well, we've got just the person to talk to about it. So, Gene, tell us all about our special guest and where she's coming from.
Well, Jenna Foertsch is the director who actually put this together. She is one of the brains behind the operation. She got the whole thing kicked off and organized it and pulled it off out at FAR with just in a very quick way that just was mind-boggling to see how such a large launch could be put together, because I've worked on setting up launches and all the stuff that it takes to have it done. So fortunately, I tweeted Jen and said, hey, by the way, could you mind coming and seeing us and talking about it? And she graciously accepted. So Jenna, without that nice introduction, please welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on, and we're so happy to have you here today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here. And also when I got your DM, I was like, oh boy, I get to go talk about Hot Nozzle more. Like, what a dream. So thanks.
That's a great little Hot Nozzle
awesome
outfit you've got on there with the flames on the sleeve there. And for anybody we're talking video, and if you're a patron of the Rocketry Show, you can watch the video component of this and see exactly what we're talking about. But you can go ahead and describe your rocket smock there for all of us. Or no, it's a whole outfit there.
Yeah, it's a shirt.
I like it.
So we have the attendee shirts, which, every single attendee got. And that was, our logo's designed by Lavi, who was great, one of our staffers. And then we have the staff shirts, which are an exclusive and were very popular at the event. And these were sponsored, and, they're tacky in all the right ways. So
that's great.
Wearing it.
Oh, you got flames on them, so that's the important thing, and it's about rocketry, right. So that's what makes it special. So, Can you tell us a little bit about how this whole event started? I mean, I saw some stuff on Twitter, and it just all of a sudden after that it exploded. So, from your perspective, what happened?
Yeah, so this is a really funny story, but, it all started out on space Twitter. We're all just memeing as we do, just a ton of nerds, talking about rockets. And someone made a joke that they hashtagged HotNozzleSummer. And we were all like, haha, what if we did an event? And then everyone was like, haha, yeah. Most of the time when people bring up things like that, it doesn't fully come to fruition.
Right. Yes.
But my co-organizer and founder, Matt Patrick, put a ton of us in a like Twitter group chat and was like, okay, you guys all were interacting with this hashtag. Let's plan an event. And everyone was like, again, like, sure. And then eventually I was like, all right, well, I guess someone has to make a website for it. So I made a website. And then from there, I was like, well, I guess someone has to plan this aspect and this aspect. And then pretty soon it was like mid-May and I was spending an insane amount of time planning the event. So, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the premise of what it all is about and because I know that there's some stuff about people getting their level 1s. Was that the main aspect of it, or what was like the theme, or what was the main points of the event?
Yeah. Great question. So it started out where everyone kind of had their own like idea of what Hot Nozzle was, which was nice because people could be like, this is my goal. This is what I want to do at the event. And then once a lot of us started talking about it more, we were like, this has the potential to be something really cool, because we were all really passionate about like making rocketry more like fun and vibrant and like more like, I don't know if modern's the right word, but opening it up to a group of people that like may not, have those resources or have access to rocketry or like know how absolutely cool it is. So it was a lot of like pivoting the messaging around it to be like, no, this is a super cool thing. Like there's a ton of us from Twitter going to the desert. It originally started as us just wanting to hang out and then turned into like, like this could be meaningful.
That's really cool. And once that started, it seemed to have taken off, because then the Discord was set up and then the Twitter were going back and forth, and you were getting a lot of traction on social media. And I didn't really check Facebook because I don't really do that, but I figured you guys probably weren't on there that much.
Yeah, you're right. We aren't on Facebook yet. But it started as me being like, wow, okay, I need to get a ton of staffers to pull this off. Based on, we were like, we're either going to have 0 people that sign up or like 200. It was more like 200, obviously. So, but I was like, all right, who do I know that is good at mentoring, who is like fun to be around? Like I need staffers that like people come in and they're like, wow, this is a great environment. So I like did a little scheme where I just hit up pretty much every Rocketeer in person who even like some staffers weren't even Rocketeers. They just like were really passionate about like STEM and, accessibility. Right. So I wrangled a ton of people in. And, I think there were 50 staffers total and like 150 people at the event. So there was a lot of staffers.
That's cool.
Wow. So how many participants did you end up with?
In terms of participants, I think we topped out at 150. I remember asking Farah, I was like, how many, like, if we do have 200 people show up, is that okay? And they were very clear that they like wanted to be careful because of bunker space. That was our biggest, kind of not drawback, but like, something we needed to consider because we got to cram all these hot nozzlers into bunkers. But halfway through the event, they came up to me. They're like, hey, this is going super well. If you want to have more people, you can. And I was like, nice. That's a good sign.
Cool.
Yes.
And when things started happening, like I know that like how many people actually were going for certifications? Because because I know that there was a lot of people talking about, well, I've never built a rocket before. I'm going to build a level 1. And there was a little bit of like, some of the old schoolers were like, oh, that's not good, blah, blah, blah. So how did you work through that a little bit? Because that's an interesting question.
It's a great question again. So we were a little worried about that because we didn't want people showing up with, rockets that were a little jank and then like making it a safety hazard.
Right.
Because like one of our huge emphases, we just had like a staff meeting with feedback and everyone was like, I love the safety culture. It was phenomenal. I could not have asked for better. But I think total, we had 40 successful flights and like 4 or 5 anomalies. So pretty good numbers for a day and a half. And the first time we run the event, but we were just launching them one after another and it was nice and smooth and couldn't have asked for better again.
Now, how did you hook up with like supplies and like, because everybody needs motors, right? So like, how did you put people in touch with them or how did some of the logistics of that go?
Yeah. So that was something that like was kind of a struggle for us because we had people coming from the East Coast. And like some ended up driving because they had motors and, made it a whole trip and it was really fun. But one of our like things that we really wanted to focus on was, okay, we need a motor vendor. How do we get a motor vendor?
Right.
And getting someone to drive out to FAR can be a trek. So we ended, that's an understatement, the understatement of the year. But I don't know if you guys have ever been on the road going in there, but it is, you gotta,
I have.
You gotta be a special type of person when you're driving in there, and based on the speed you go, you can really damage your car.
Well, see, the first thing is the word road is kind of a bit of an anomaly because it's not really a road. Is more as it's more like a path through the desert.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a guideline.
Who everybody's listening, picture the middle of the desert and picture a kind of a road path, like you said, Jenna. That's exactly a great way to describe it. And lots of sand and desert stuff. And if you don't watch exactly where you're going, you could go off the path pretty quickly and get into trouble. But
so you're
once you get there,
like
then
a path that you can vaguely make out the tire tracks through the tumbleweed and sand.
Pretty much. That's exactly what it is. And there's like a lake bed out there. And we're like, do not drive in the lake bed. Please do not. Like, we mean it. And we were putting out maps that was like, okay, if you go over here, there's some rabid dogs. And if you go over here, here's the lake bed. So, because for recovery purposes. But going back to your question about the motors, sorry. We ended up placing a like large motor order. And then we had one of our staffers like go up and pick up the whole thing. So they were driving to our event with like a lot of motors.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's really cool though. So you provided services for your flyers like that. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. We tried to get motor vendors out to the event, but again, like we had a couple months. So, we took what we could get, but we also managed to get a food truck out there, which apparently is which is amazing in itself. And it was like the best Mexican food I've ever had. It was so good. And FAR was like, we're going to have this more often. So you're welcome to FAR goers that you are now going to get a food truck.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, was Rick Masscheck at the food truck? You know Rick, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the FAR guys.
Rick, they loved it. They were like, this is really good. I was like, I know, I'm so glad. I'm really glad it's good because I was worried.
Rick is a great guy. He looks like he lives in the desert, and he's a fantastic like source of knowledge.
Totally.
But he came the first time that I saw him, he had his like kind of his safari hat on and a t-shirt and kind of this like little glint in his eye and just all things rocketry. So he's a great guy. So Rick, if you're listening to this, thanks for doing all that stuff that you do. So
yeah, and I want to double down on that. Like the people at FAR, Rick included, were so kind and so like willing to help us. Like we had some people who were set to help people do motor integration and like, pack parachutes. And then Rick would always just be kind of like, well, he like dropped some tidbits of knowledge and it was just like gold every single time.
Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that?
And that's what it was. So it's so funny. It's such a good like way to teach because then people sit there and they're like, do I want to do this? Like, is this the right way to do this?
No. I mean, yeah, it's fun and exciting, but you got to be safe about it. And Rick is really good about that because he doesn't take away from any of the fun, but he does make you think at the same time. So I always thought that was pretty cool the way he does that. Mm-hmm. But
I'm trying to think in my mind, I've got a scenario going on. It's like, I'm going to do this. Are you sure you want to do that? Yeah, I'm going to do it this way because that's how I'm going to do it. Right?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do it that way. Should I do it that way?
Yeah, anybody who's ever done a level 1 is always, they have their checklist maybe or their mental checklist. Some people have to write it out, and that's great that they do that. But everybody's always like, if they aren't running those questions through their head before they launch something, I mean, then they're doing something wrong, in my opinion. And anytime that somebody came up with that, like when I went for my level 1, there was a guy saying, "You sure you want to put that O-ring in?" Because I was loading my motor up, and I said, "Well, the instructions say here," and he said, "Well, are you sure about that?" And I did what he said, and it turned out that I was right and he was wrong in the end. So I KO'd on the first one.
Go ahead and brag, Jim.
Somehow or other, I had another motor. I don't know where it came from, but I was able. But the rocket survived, and I was able to launch it. And I got my level 1 that day. And he apologized to me. So but that rethinking is something that always happens when you launch something, especially when you're going for certification, because you're nervous. It's a big, things are on the line.
It's definitely a good skill to have, is to be like, okay, you're wise. Do I want to take your advice? And most of the time, yes. But like, if you're confident, like you got to stay confident. If you fail, well, you learned you should be maybe a little less confident. So,
yeah, exactly.
But we had a team of range safety officers, RSOs, and they had a whole checklist on like, you got to walk me through all of this. And it was pretty robust. So I think that was one of the reasons why we had like a lot of successful flights, because we had a whole team of just like insanely qualified people being like, all right, let's walk through this.
That's great. I'm really glad to hear that, because, people are like, well, they're going to do this and they're going to do this. And I heard some talk about it from some people, and I'm like, yeah, you don't know these guys, like give them a chance. It's kind of like, this is the next generation that's coming up, and they are going to do the same things that you guys did, except they're going to follow the rules, unlike what you guys did, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I cool.
And it's, a lot about like not only following the rules, but also like, doing it in a way that's super fun. And so I know a lot of people where I heard buzz from the community that was like, Hot Nozzle, we're a little worried. Like this is a lot of new people in one place. And I was like, okay, just like, let us prove ourselves. And I think we did.
That's awesome. And there's one little tidbit that I think our audience should know about. Now, Jenna, you're working full-time at an organization. And could you tell our audience what organization that is and what your role and function is?
Yeah, what are you doing? What do you do?
Yeah,
Honestly,
tell us about that. Tell us about that nondescript gray room you're in. It looks like kind of businessy.
What kind of background is that?
Yeah, what is it? I don't know. But I work at a little company or agency called NASA. NASA Johnson Space Center is where I'm based.
Never heard of it.
I haven't either until like a couple days ago. But so I just started working here full time in January. And I had been doing internships since 2018. I did some internships in like data analytics and visualization, public affairs, exploration technology, like tech transfer stuff. And then I ended up in planning, integration, and environmental. And so people ask, what are you doing? And I'm like, planning, integration, and environmental. They're like, I still have no idea what that is. Which is fair. So I work with a lot of architects, master planners, engineers. I do some proposal writing. Cool. My job description says like special projects. So again, I hope that answers your question on what I do, but it still leaves people like a little like, I still don't fully understand, but it sounds cool.
Yes, working special projects at NASA. Yeah, that pretty much answers my question. And that's awesome that you're doing that. So obviously you are a fully competent, qualified engineer type person, and to pull something like this off shows that you actually have the ability to logistically put something like this together with a bunch of people and have fun doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, that says a lot. So that's really cool that you did that. And, how many people were on the team that you had to put together for that? We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I think the music's coming in for the break. Subtle as a brick.
But that's the first question we'll come back to here on The Rocketry Show. After we take our break here, we're talking to Jenna Foertsch of HotNozzleSummer. She's the one that put that whole thing together, organized it, and we're just talking about how it came out. So I guess we'll talk more about that in a moment at The Rocketry Show. Stay close. It's time for Serious Rocketry. Serious Rocketry since 1998. Providing the Rocketeer with great kits, motors, supplies, and more. They have lots of products in their ever-growing web store with fast shipping, wide selection, and courteous service. You can also check out the amazing and popular Serious Rocketry kits that harken back to the days of fun-to-build detailed kits that are more than just 3 fins and a nose cone. And, Gene, what did you find?
I found a classic that is one of my favorite high-power transition rockets, let's say. It's a 4-inch Mad Cow Frenzy. Now, this is a split fin design that's over 6.5 feet tall, 4-inch diameter Frenzy. It's long and lean, high-powered flying machine. It's got a split fin design and features a pre-slotted airframe, laser-cut plywood fins, and plywood rings. The Frenzy, it's a really good, fun build, and it's an impressive, high-power sport flyer. I fly mine on I-284s, which is known as the Demon Eye because it's got such a high kick to it, and I get a couple thousand feet out of my Frenzy. It's a great motor. And also because it's a split fin design, you're going to hear that whistle if you build it right, which most people do. So it's a great flyer. It's cardboard tubes, plywood fins. They recommend it for experienced high power flyers, probably because of the fins. You want to make sure that you get those seated properly in the slots and build it. And I always have an altimeter in mine, which of course is recommended, but you don't have to use that if you don't want to. So if you're just going for level 1, you could certainly do it. But with a 54 millimeter motor mount, you can really open this thing up and send it into the sky. What you get with it is heavy duty plastic nose cone, 1/4-inch plywood, laser cut fins and rings, Delrin rail buttons. It's dual deploy capable, but you'd have to do a little bit of modifying for the deployment bay. Pre-slotted airframe, the 9/16 tubular nylon shock cord, and parachute is not included, but they do recommend a 50-inch nylon parachute, which you could also get at Sirius Rocketry. So this whole package is going for just $131.95. It's a Mad Cow 4-inch Frenzy, $131.95 at Sirius Rocketry. It's a great deal. You should get your hands on one if you haven't built one yet.
Alrighty, and Sirius Rocketry's website features real-time stock tracking, which lets you order with confidence from their online store. No having to call or write to see if something is really in stock. And when you're ready to fly, Sirius Rocketry has motors and hardware in stock from Estes through Aerotech High Power, as well as popular electronics from Jolly Logic and more. Be sure to ask them about their club specials when you get a chance, and you can visit their websites today at siriusrocketry.biz and .com. Sirius Rocketry, for the serious Rocketeer. North Coast Rocketry, one of the first high-power rocketry kit companies ever, takes advantage of over 30 years of high-power experience by a world-class Rocketeer. You can look to North Coast Rocketry to expand your high-power rocket fleet. In addition to great kits, North Coast Rocketry also stocks lots of must-have items and accessories for every Rocketeer's workshop. Find out more about these kits and other great products today. Go to northcoastrocketry.com. And while you're there, don't forget to get their latest catalog, northcoastrocketry.com. Advanced rockets that are easy to build, fun to fly, and look great on display.
Hey, all you rocket geeks out there. Do you like doing in-flight videos of your flights? And do you ever use those keychain cams and unfortunately sometimes only get videos of your thumb? Hey, this is Gene from The Rocketry Show, and that used to happen to me. I used to use those old keychain cams only to get nothing very good quality. But I found a solution to that, and it's Insane Rockets. It's an app that's available on the Google Play Store for Nexus 5X and higher. Now get this, it does 4K video. But not only that, it'll upload it automatically to the cloud and provide you real-time telemetry while tracking your rocket through Google Earth. It is amazing. Available on the Google Play Store, Insane Rockets app. It's crazy. No, wait. It's insane.
Welcome back to The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com. We're talking to Jenna Foertsch of HotNozzleSummer and of NASA, too. So we took a break here just as Gene was getting ramped up to ask a question. So we'll jump it over to you, Gene, to kick it off from there.
Okay, so you've got the marketing and the logistics and the organization and getting all that together and getting the safety protocols in place, making sure everybody's in the right place at the right time and then nothing bad's going to happen and everything. Can you tell us a little bit about how the team that was put together actually did it? Like how many people were in the team and what was the dynamic of how things worked? Because you've got different backgrounds. I'm sure this, as you said, some people were not rocket people at all, but were very passionate and they were going to help. So how did all that work? And what was the dynamic like?
Yeah, so I'll start a little bit with my background and then roll into the background of the team I assembled. But to start, I started with Rocketry in April. When my little friend Joe Bernard decided to launch a rocket called Lumineer. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's yeah. But a group of us were going to go out to the desert, and I was just along for the ride. So my background is actually marketing and policy. So I was like, I'm not going to build a rocket. Like I don't have the capability to do that. It looks really hard. And then a couple of my friends like Lauren Potterat, who is from USCRPL. Joey B, Zyla, they were like, no, you're going to do it. And we're going to teach you in this Airbnb at 2 a.m. And then I got my L1 cert.
No
in
pressure.
1 week, I learned how to build. Yeah, right. Seriously. So with that being said, a lot of like I acknowledged my knowledge gaps there is that like, man, there are people in this industry or like in this hobby that have years of experience. And so, like the criticism that like, hey, this is a new group of people doing something new. Like I acknowledged that and I was like, I need to prove myself. So I set out all the positions that I thought we needed with the help of some friends. And we had, a group of people who were range safety officers, launch control officers. Our pad techs were called pad dads. I don't know if you saw the name tags, but when it said pad dads on it. Yeah. And then we also had people on first aid and, media, and also people just like their whole job was to cert and like do cert tests. And we had cert test slots, and so it was very methodical in how many positions and how many people were in all of them. But yeah, half of it was like my personal friends, and then the other half was like Twitter people who were just psyched to be there and wanted to help in any way possible. So it was a lot of like training people if they were new, because like we're not going to say you can't do this or like be a staffer if you don't have the background. We're going to teach you. Like that's the whole point, is we're going to teach you how to do this and you're going to have a blast.
That's awesome.
I see what you did there. Have a blast.
Yeah, intentional, totally intentional.
So, Jenna, we take a look at the hashtag for HotNozzleSummer on Twitter. And if you even check on Instagram, and, this thing scrolls back far. And it actually, I start seeing posts as early as March. So can you talk about who came up with the hashtag and the name? I mean, was that you or was that one of your friends, or what's the story behind the actual hashtag?
So I believe it was Ben Gerlich who actually helped me pick out these shirts. So he is like a meme lord. Like that's his whole, whole thing.
Meme lord. Yeah. That's a rocket
Lord
name.
of the memes.
Yeah,
Lord
that's a
of
rocket
the
name.
memes.
Meme lord.
I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he also did a rocket with like a denim layup, like a jean layup. So he's on Twitter and he's like, his whole thing is jeans. So he shows up, he has a denim cowboy hat, like his jean rocket, who he called Eugene. Like it was like funniest thing ever.
Man,
That's
you had to bring that up just as I was taking a swig of my tea.
But yeah, so I think he was the one who originally said Hot Nozzle, and then like me and a couple others were like, oh, this is funny. We're also going to tweet about this. But
it caught on with us. I mean, Jim and I have been, putting stuff up on social media, Hot Nozzle Summer, and so has Noob. He's got a old picture with Joe Barnard there that, he posted. Is like, I don't know if this counts, but Hot Nozzle Summer is like, yeah, it counts. It's us. It's Rocketry. It's kind of what we do.
It's summer and it's Rocketry, and you're doing it. Yeah,
and it's hot. So,
yes.
But yeah, that's a good point, and that's something that like we try to emphasize is like, you don't have to go to the event to like participate in Hot Nozzle Summer, because a lot of people were like,
exactly,
am I allowed to post this? Can I participate? And we're like, no, like by all means. Like the event is one portion of it, and then the other half is like how our team calls it the summer and the vibes of just like doing rocketry with your friends, your family, like however you want to do it safely. So yeah.
So I invite people who are looking at Twitter and Instagram. You are able to follow hashtags now. So if you do a search for Hot Nozzle Summer, you can follow that hashtag, and you'll see a ton of posts on Twitter from Jenna's crew and her team, and then just a lot of folks who wanted to be there that weren't able to. And then you might see some LDRS stuff from some model rocket guy dude. That's me. I know James used it. I know Noob's used it. So there's a lot of cool information on there. And, I like to follow people's builds and threads, and there's a ton of stuff here. I need to find, your denim guy. You need to pass over that username because I want to follow that, because that's, meme lord. That's got to be his username. Let me look that up real quick. But anyway.
Yeah, right. Meme lord with the rocket Eugene.
So when I was at LDRS, I was able to, take a few pictures with some folks who had some Hot Nozzle Summer shirts. So, and there's a couple guys that were wearing shirts like yours. And I was like, oh, I remember that. I saw them, and took a few pictures with some folks. So I'll look them up and maybe you know who they are. But it was kind of cool to see that, we had a Hot Nozzle Summer event on the Salt for LDRS. And there was a lot of people who were there at your event. A couple of quick questions. When was your event? Because, LDRS was held at the end of July on the Bonneville Salt Flats, in Wendover, Utah. When was your event held? It had to have been like a couple of weeks before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was July 23rd to the 25th.
Oh, okay. So it was like directly the week before. Wow. So there's a lot of people that trekked from FAR. And then that next weekend went to LDRS. That's really cool.
It was a whole thing. And remind me, but I can send you guys shirts. I have a ton of extra shirts. So like, I will send you your own Hot Nozzle shirt, even staff shirts if you really want to be a staffer.
Extra large.
Yes.
Extra
So
large.
cool.
I'll take it. I'll wear it.
We have it. Wear it with pride. Like I showed some people, I didn't tell the staffers what the shirt was until they got there because I wanted to see their faces because it is like a really funny shirt. Like for those who aren't watching the video, it's like light blue and then the sleeves and the bottom of the shirt are like orange and red flames. And it is like, you will stand out in a crowd if you're wearing this shirt.
Well, if you check the chat from this, I just sent my address.
Oh,
Okay,
genius.
noted.
You're a genius, dude. That's awesome.
I mean it. I'll send it. Expect a Hot Nozzle package in the mail.
So the new president of Tripoli, Bob Brown, kind of had a shirt similar to your Hot Nozzle Summer.
They were originally supposed to be Hawaiian shirts, but like me and Ben.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got.
Yeah, me and Ben were looking and we're like, none of these feel Hot Nozzle Summer enough. Like we need the Hot Nozzle vibes to be there. So we eventually stumbled upon this and we're like, let's order a ton of them. Let's order like 300 or something crazy like that. So yeah.
No, that's really cool. It's a fun thing to do, and I appreciate that you guys went that far. It's noticeable. I mean, I was able to identify those people the next weekend, and I thought it was cool that they, like I said, made the trek from FAR the next weekend to LDRS. That's really cool to me.
A lot of it is about like, and I've thought about this a lot, but making people feel welcome and in a community. And if you have a wild shirt, you know exactly what community you're in. So,
good point. Good point.
Yeah. So I think even with the shirts like these, we were like, okay, one thing we need to give all attendees, no matter what, is a shirt. So they can like look at it and be like, nice, Hot Nozzle Summer.
Yes.
That's so cool. And, like the thing that's interesting is like you have actually achieved an outreach in the rocketry community that just like blew up on the scene, because it's a small community and it's like, there's portions of it that are kind of quiet and some that are a little bit louder, but you guys just blew up on the scene or whatever you want to call it. And I think it's incredible to see because even people that just launched small model rockets, I've heard people talk about it, just like, what was that thing that went on in July, that hot thing?
Hot something summer.
Yeah. But your outreach has been incredible.
Yeah. And that definitely like a little intentional just because, again, we want it to reach the right people. And we know that social media is, a really good medium to do that.
Right.
So it was a lot of just like excitement. Like after COVID, people were like, man, I haven't done anything in a while. Yeah, I want to launch some rockets with some friends. And so people really grabbed onto it. And it became like I kind of mentioned earlier, like special to different people for different reasons, which I think is why it was super successful, is because people were like, I can insert my own situation and what makes rocketry special to me into this hashtag. And so it sounds small because it's just a hashtag, but like I had a lot of people walking up to me during the event and they were like, this is one of the best weekends of my entire life. Like, oh, wow. I was like, that's really so soft about it. I know. And a lot of them were like, I have never been in a crowd that was so like welcoming. So like I've learned so much. Like even if I didn't have a rocket, I feel like I learned like so much. And I don't know, it was so special and so exciting. And like, I really can't wait for next year's. So.
Oh, wow.
Now that leads right into the next question. Where do you go from here?
Yep,
well,
exactly.
What's going to be happening in the future?
Yes. Great question. And there definitely is, a lot in the pipeline that is exciting, but like not quite ready for release. But I know for us, one of them is picking a location. So we have a couple on our list, but I don't think it's going to be FAR. FAR was exceptional, but they were like, yeah, it's harder for people on different coasts to like make it all the way out here. So consider the East Coast. We've considered the Midwest. We've definitely got some on our brain, but that is one thing to consider. The second one is we are filing as like a 501c3, like officially.
Okay.
Like a
cool.
Yeah, Twitter meme made nonprofit. Which is just a crazy pipeline. But we also we also have, a lot of talk about how we want the event as a portion, but we also want some sort of like outreach component, which is where like me
Right.
saying we can't fully talk about that is in the works because we have some like really, really fun collabs and like really meaningful stuff that we think we're going to pump out in a little bit. So stay tuned for that.
That's cool. Okay. So, and I have a feeling it might have some STEM related events going on with it too, potentially, right?
Yes.
Not that I'm going to dig
So
her anywhere. But
We'll see. We'll see. It's honestly way bigger than I thought that it would get. So a lot of it is me being like, man, I got to like make an official org chart. I got to, we got to make bylaws and we have to like actually establish our mission and vision, which is the hardest part. Like, because all of us have a slightly different idea. So we're like, oh, we need to figure this out. So.
Oh, GM and CG, I know where they need to have their next event. I think I'm going to say it.
Say more.
I think you guys need to visit Argonia, Kansas.
Okay, wait, that's Cloudbusters, isn't it?
Is
that Cloudbusters?
So,
okay, that's actually number 1 on our list. That's really funny you say that.
So, Jenna, we have a huge event called Airfest that happens September 3rd through the 6th of this year. It's right up Highway 35 for you, 75 to 35. Yes. Get up there, just east of Wichita, about an hour. I got to tell you.
It sounds great and less hot. And also, if it's the Midwest, my parents have been bugging me like, we need to come to Hot Nozzle next year, which is so funny to me. And I'm from the Midwest, so I'm like, yes,
it's a different kind of hot, but Argonia is hot. Yeah. Now, it's September. The last event was held during Labor Day weekend, which is the last weekend of, that was the last weekend of August. So this is the first weekend of September. So it might be a little cooler. I'm not sure. But
yeah, and we know that like the amount of attendees is going to be much larger, I assume, and we're debating on doing more days. We are debating on we didn't allow experimental just because of like the time and also like sometimes there's
that's okay.
Like and that's okay. It was a time and like the amount of people who wanted to launch rockets in a day and a half. If there's like a rocket on the pad that's experimental or liquid, it can sit there for a while. And I was like, I'd rather have a lot of people launch and like have their own, like L1 experience than like, as cool as experimental rockets are, which like I said, we're going to try next year. But like, I just decided it was better to not have that. But if Cloudbusters can handle it, then we're seriously looking into it.
Well, obviously talk to the people, there. But I'm just saying if you want to kind of check out, something like that. And that goes for everybody that's listening to the show. I mean, Airfest is coming up, and it's a huge event. It's going to be a 4-day event. I understand, September 3rd through the 6th. So it starts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they launch up to like 2 p.m. on Labor Day, which is that Monday. So if you get a chance, even just drive up, for a day or so, I mean, it's something you definitely have to check out. The amount of motors that they put up on that thing, rivals and LDRS. It's obviously not the same kind of event as like Balls, but it's definitely something that somebody anywhere from, even, Estes to, and, low power all the way to mid power and all the way to high power. It's going to be a huge show. Tons of vendors are going to be there, and it's something I think you all definitely need to take a look at. And we spoke to Bob Brown, who was the prefect for Cloudbusters, and he just got elected the Tripoli president. So it is definitely a Tripoli club, but I mean, it's something you might want to consider. And I invite all of you guys listening to the show right now to, go take a trip if you're able to,
Nice. Are you going to be there?
I got the time requested off work, and I'm, building a skinwalker that Jason from Locke wants me to fly, and I'm trying to choose a motor. I think we're going to probably do I think we're going to do an M2500 because I had secured one of those when I was going to do my level 3, and it would work perfectly with this rocket. It's not quite a long burn. It's only like 3.4 seconds, but then again, it's only 3.4 seconds.
Yeah. I was like,
Only. Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Casual.
Hey, let me rewind just a second. Hopefully we get Gene back here in just a second, but I got a couple pictures, and I want to share this now. I did talk to him when he was showing us, when I took the picture with him. This is Daniel Fennell, who you might recognize.
Oh, yes.
And I took a picture with him on the salt at LDRS. So if you kind of see the background, you see how it looks like white snow on the ground. That's not snow. That's salt. And
that's crazy.
It was hot. It was a hot.
How is recovery with that? Like, does it make recovery easier because there's a white ground and there's your rocket? Or
no, unfortunately, the it was really hard. So I can't say that the recoveries were easy. Those folks who had cardboard rockets, probably didn't have a great of a time. Sometimes a fin or two would pop off. So that was happening. But the fiberglass rockets, seem to be pretty good. And if you had one where the fins weren't swept down, and the fins were more on the body, they tended to not, crack or anything like that. But yeah, there was a few issues, but yeah, you definitely wanted a fiberglass or something, so.
Nice.
So there's a couple other photos that I'll take a look up and show you, but Hot Nozzle Summer, if you are looking to make a thing out of this, I mean, we are excited to hear it, because one of the things that I was even talking to Zyla about is, keep flying, keep doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Jenna, I mean, you got your level 1 cert, right? What are your plans as far as flying? Are you going to continue doing it? Are you going to go for a level 2 and go all the way? What kind of plans do you have?
Yeah, so I was going to do my L2 at Hot Nozzle. Like, I have it pretty much done.
Wow. Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, like it's done in my garage for the most part.
Pause for a second before we go on a different topic, but tell us about your rocket. Tell us about your level 2.
Oh my gosh. It's like 6.5 feet. It's very large. I haven't picked a motor yet, but it's, one of my favorite parts too is painting it. Like, I'm a very artistic person, and there were some cool rockets at Hot Nozzle that were like hand painted, and I was like, whoa, this is awesome. But honestly, I think it was a lock yank iris, if I remember correctly.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So
what diameter? If you don't mind me asking.
I think it was 4.
Okay. No, that's great. That's perfect.
But yeah, so me and like a couple other staffers were gonna get that, and we were gonna race.
Okay.
But then I had to plan the event. So hopefully I get to race it with someone at some point, because I think that's always really fun to watch.
Well, take it to Argonia, and I'm your Huckleberry.
I might go. You're making it sound great. Like, I need to go to more events, obviously.
You're in Texas, right? I mean,
I am. I'm in good old Houston. So.
Okay. Well, obviously you're working, but I just wanted to double check. But yeah, just Highway 75 to 35, and bam, there you are, Wichita, and then just head east an hour.
You're selling it. I love Wichita, so I might have to go.
I'm doing this so
Jesse
CG
Maps.
like picks up on stuff. CG, you need to tell your work that you just got that you gotta take a break for a minute.
Oh, they're super supportive. Like, they knew I was doing this like outside of work, and they were like, hey, I was like, hey, I need like a week off. I'm so sorry, but I need to drive all the way to, Mojave with some internet strangers. Cause I was driving with 2 other staffers, Kyle Morgenstein and Billy Young. And, I was like, I'm sorry, I need to do this. They're like, no, we want you to have the best time. Like, go do it.
Great.
Go do your rocketry. Yeah. So that's a great way to retain young employees, is to say, yes, take time off. So I really appreciated it.
So if there's anybody listening from our work, CG's work, my work, and Jean's work, make sure you take heed to that, because they want her to have a good time. That means that we have to have a good time.
Mm-hmm. We all have to have a good time. So go ahead and let us have time off so we can launch more rockets and inspire more people, please.
So you were talking about like your plans after you potentially do a level 2. Do you have any other rockets besides your Iris? Like, do we need to?
I don't.
Do we need to send some rockets towards Jenna?
Ooh, please do. I would love nothing more. I just bought a house in League City, Texas, which is next to Houston. And
I know exactly where that is. All my wife's family lives there.
Oh, well, she's probably got some cool family.
Right yeah, we do. It's my wife's family, so they're not as cool as mine, but yeah.
And, it is what it is. But I live with a couple of other engineers too, like casual 3 NASA engineers that do rover stuff. But we're all like, okay, we need to, we need to like make our garage air conditioned, make it a whole shop. Like, it's going to be awesome. And so we're all going to be in there like building. And I'm Resident Rocket. They do more robots, which, is to each their own. But I can't wait to finally have our shop so I can start cranking out rockets.
So you're not too far from Hearn, Texas. It's about 2 hours away from you. So you need to go visit the Tripoli Houston guys. Tell them that Jesse sent you. Go talk to our friend, CG, Mr. Blaine Seabolt.
Yes.
Yeah, so Blaine was doing some announcing there last weekend for Tripoli Houston. I mean, he's a good resource to go and check out. And, you can go fly with those guys and get some more experience under your belt. And maybe they can be an option for you too. So.
I would love that. Good. I really want to get more into the rocketry scene in Houston. I don't know a ton of people like Gnarl or Tripoli in the area. So I'm just kind of I'll fly with NASA interns, I guess. So.
Well, that's what we're for, guys. I mean, the Rocketry Show, I mean, we're trying to reach out. We're trying to do everything. If you check out our hashtags too, I mean, you can find a lot of stuff and we can help answer some of your questions as well. And that goes for anybody listening to the show. Please reach out to us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the Rocketry Show. We'll return with Jenna of Hot Nozzle Summer. Stick around. It's time for eRockets.biz. eRockets is your home for unique model rocket kits as well as the world's largest selection of rocket parts from Semrock. They've been in business since 2009. eRockets.biz has a wide selection of your favorite kits as well as their own versions of popular out-of-production models many of you have come to enjoy over the years. Jesse, you've been looking around on the site for stuff. What did you find?
So I didn't actually have to look around too much this time. I went to eRockets to take a look at what the stuff was. And I came across a Semrock rocket, which eRockets is obviously famous for. This one is the Pro Cherokee. So this is a upscale. It says a 200% upscale of the famous, SS Cherokee. This one, laser cut fins, plastic nose cone, slotted body tubes. This one does come with rail buttons. It comes with a screw-on motor retention. So I'm not sure if that's a, some kind of 3D printer or whatever it might be, but it comes with a retainer, which is awesome. This has the ability to, actually it says vinyl decals by Sticker Shock with an option to name it how you want it with motor sizes. That is freaking cool.
Oh.
So just the fact that they offer that, that's awesome. It does come with a parachute, although it comes with an 18-inch, it says, so you might want to upscale that if you need to. It is a 2.6-inch kit, so that's really cool. And, just right under, 4 feet long. This is 43.5 inches. That's pretty awesome to me. So I'm excited about it. Now, the cool thing about this is, Semrock is usually known for, scale kits of others, but this is an upscale. So this is 29 millimeter, and you can fly it on anything from, Fs all the way to Hs, and you can level on this. That's American. Yeah, exactly. This is amazing. So I think it's a great deal. It is priced at $89.99, but man, this is awesome, and I think I'm going to pull the trigger on this too. eRockets for the win.
Yes, and there are plenty of other rocketry items you can choose from, such as educational rocket kits and supplies, air rockets, water rockets, and so much more. eRockets.biz certainly has enough kits and supplies to keep you busy in your workshop for a long time to come. If you need parts for your own custom builds, that's not a problem. eRockets.biz also supplies the Semrock line of airframes, nose cones, centering rings, motor mounts, and so much more. eRockets has more rocket parts available than anyone else on Earth. You can check out eRockets.biz today to learn more and be prepared to spend some time on that site. eRockets.biz. If rocketry scares you, buy a train set.
Going up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff.
From Little Beth Media, a new podcast on model rocketry with build techniques, model rocket history, interviews with industry insiders, stuff for beginners and longtime model rocketeers. Everything from low to mid-power. The Model Rocket Show with me, the Rocket Noob, at TheRocketryShow.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Lock Precision Rocketry manufactures a full line of high-quality precision fit components to meet your building, repairing, and customizing needs. Lock Precision believes in making rocket kits as light as possible while maintaining the strength required to fly with commercially available motors. Lock Precision offers a wide range of rocket kits from the 1-inch diameter Lock 1 series to high-power rockets reaching 7.6 inches in diameter. When you visit LockPrecision.com, be sure to check out their Performance Series kits featuring such designs as the Black Brand 10, the Caliper ISP, and the 3.1-inch diameter Iris rocket. All of Lock Precision's performance kits comes with everything you need, including pre-slotted airframes, high-grade precision-cut plywood fins and components, as well as ripstop nylon parachutes, rugged shock cords, polypropylene nose cone, and instructions. The name Lock Precision has been synonymous with mid and high-power rocketry for over 30 years. Check out LockPrecision.com to find out why. LockPrecision.com. Fly higher. Fly Lock. Welcome back to the Rocketry Show. CG, Jeem, and Jesse all here, and reporting in from the Johnson Space Center in Houston, we have Jenna Foertsch of HotNozzleSummer. I always wanted to say that. It sounds all official, but you are there, so I can say that.
It's for real.
It's true. I'm here in the
NASA
flesh.
in the house, guys.
Yes.
That's so cool. We've had astronauts before, but they were retired, so you're
Right.
active.
Oh, that's great.
I'm active, not an astronaut, but I'm active.
There
It
you go.
counts. Totally counts.
Anyways, as we're going through all this stuff, Hot Nozzle Summer took such an amazing quick turn starting from the spring, and then this great event happening, and people getting their level ones, and a lot of action and activity, and social media blowing up. I mean, it's been an incredible ride. I bet, because I've been watching it from the sidelines. Now, during the times that it was happening, and I was trying to show the people this at some of my rocket clubs, and some people in the community, like, oh, they're going to do that. There's going to be a lot of problems. There's not going to be any, and the thing that struck me was that there were some people that were like, that is so cool. That's great for the hobby. It's going to be wonderful to have more people in it. There's going to be more people flying. But you're always going to find somebody that's like going to be like, no, they can't do that. It's not going to be good. The Debbie Downer, I guess you could call it. But
right, yeah.
Yeah, and I was trying to alleviate a little bit of that when I ran into it. It wasn't that often, but it did happen a couple of times. And I'm sure that you must have had some kind of people trying to tell you that you couldn't do something, or as you're going through your safety protocols, the depth that you took to make sure that this was a safe and fun event, and people were actually having a good time and doing it the right way, says a lot about like how you approached it and your thinking as you guys put this thing together. And I have to say that. How did you feel if you ran into some of that negativity that might have come your way, or if it did at all? At least I saw it from my perspective that I did, but I alleviated it saying, listen, if you guys remember the 1980s when high power was like not something that could launch, you couldn't do it, and you did it anyway, didn't you? Well, that was different. How? These guys are following except for the fact that you guys broke the rules and Hot Nozzle did not. How is that different? So could you talk a little bit about how, if you ran into that perception and what you did to overcome that?
We did. We definitely did. And so that was part of the movement or the event, is like a lot of people, they wanted to do rocketry in a way that was different than what they've seen before. And they had a ton of good ideas, and they're like, I just need an outlet and like somewhere to put this. And so, yeah, I had a lot of people that would, they've been really like experienced in the industry, and they would hit me up and they're like, Jenna Kay, like, you can't do this, or this is not going to go well. Like, you cannot launch that many rockets like in one day. You won't get that many off the rail. And a lot of it was like, okay, how much do I have to be like, I respect your experience and I think you're super wise and this is valid and thank you. And then how much do I have to be like, man, we gotta shake this up, and it may ruffle some feathers in the process, but like, this is the future, a lot of the people who are giving us this advice probably did some like wild stuff, as you kind of mentioned, when they were, younger and first getting into the hobby. So it's like the next like generation almost of like, we got to,
exactly.
Poke some buttons and like, we got to do what we think is right, while also like respecting, safety and, all of the advice that's given to us. So it is a very fine line of walking that, and it, learning to like filter it out too, for the most part, like what is useful, was a skill that I acquired while planning this.
Well, and during their planning, just like she mentioned, she had, safety officers, she had, folks, for, if somebody got hurt, there seemed to be a lot of thought put behind your event. And that's important because that shows that you did listen to some of the advice that you had, not, going into it, not knowing it fully. So you did listen to some of the advice, and you were able to put some of those protocols in place, and you had a successful event. I mean, I can't even, unless you tell us that something happened or there was a couple of nosedives or just what it might have been. I mean, what was probably the worst thing that you experienced on the field?
Great question. So yeah, a lot of it was me thinking, okay, I've been to FAR before. What is the worst thing I can possibly think of happening, and how do I avoid that? So like we had a huge, robust recovery team that like, they took radios out there and they had to like, radio back at certain points. We were trying to track,
cool.
we had a whiteboard that said like, okay, these recovery teams are out going this way. And like, we were going to draw the map and like, it was, it was so cool. Like, it was awesome. And so a lot of it was like hanging out with my friends who are in rocketry and being like, if you had to do an event, how would you do it differently? And like, while still respecting the safety. But I would say, Saturday is when we launched most of the rockets. And honestly, I think the biggest thing that happened is like someone's rocket didn't go how it was supposed to, and then they got bummed and fell and like kind of skinned their knee a little bit. That was our only first aid event. So I think that is like successful, all things considered, because we had like procedures for like, okay, if someone needs to get airlifted out here, like what are we doing? Like we had ice sheets, we had like Pedialyte or like Powerade popsicles to rehydrate people. Like we were ready for just catastrophic things to happen, and it never happened except for like someone hurt their knee. But that was
that's great. That's awesome. The preparation.
Hey, Jim, I got to talk about something that I saw online, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, Jenna. And, there was this one guy that was launching this really, really high rocket that he launched with his foot. And I believe that was the guy who has a really good, show that happens on YouTube. Can you talk to me about that event, please? What happened there?
Okay, for when you first started that, I was like, oh my gosh, when did that happen? Like, I'm going to get in so much trouble. I'm sitting here thinking, like,
love this. CG and Jim, you're
I was like, whose rocket is this? So my good pal, Tim Dodd, also known as the Everyday Astronaut, he did the, as some of us know, he did the like inaugural launch of like, okay, I'm going to stomp on this thing and it's going to go, whoop, and people loved it. It was the funniest thing ever. And he was also a staffer, and I had him on like sunscreen duty, like first aid sunscreen duty. Like it wasn't anything super robust, but I was like, hey, like another part of this is like I want people to come and not feel like they have to do work if they don't want to do work. So I don't want you to film. Like I just want you to have a good time and like meet people. So I was like,
hey, his rocket went 19 to 40 feet. That's all I got.
It was really impressive. Like I honestly, I don't think I could ever build a rocket like that. But it was funny and it was hilarious and people loved it.
It was just a little air rocket. It was kind of funny. I saw that.
Yeah,
and
it's a stomp rocket.
Laughing. Yeah, what Mach?
Which Mach did it reach with that?
0.01.
Good question, but yeah, 0.01. Have you guys seen all of the pictures of it? We have a whole album I can send to you guys, but like he's super hyped once it goes up. Okay, I'll send it to you.
Absolutely. Well, just like that's the kind of the cross social media, because you've got the SpaceX guys and the Everyday Astronaut like crowd and space Twitter, and then you've got Hot Nozzle, and it's a beautiful mix, and you brought it together, and it's just such a natural fit. I was kind of waiting to see if that would happen, and I saw the pictures of Tim there. I'm like, okay, yeah, they did it. So that's so cool.
And it sounds like it's not going to stop. So we're excited for the future here.
Yes, I'm also excited for the future. And it was really cool because like different people from different backgrounds showed up, and like people like Tim or Joey B or like Lauren Potter, and they would show up and people would have their moment of like, oh my God. Oh, also Scott Manley was there. Sorry.
Yes, I know.
Scott Manley. I'm reporting on HotNozzleSummer. Fly safe.
Yeah. It was so seamless and that everyone had such a great time and it like wasn't weird. And yeah, Scott brought his kids and they were also awesome and like launching smaller stuff. And it was like, this just like feels right. Like everyone's just vibing.
Congratulations.
Has anybody ever attributed it to like the Hot Nozzle is becoming the Burning Man of the rocketry hobby?
Someone said that. Were you the one who made that original joke? Because I had someone that was like, okay, hear me out. Burning Man. And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Because that, but I could see how somebody could make that parallel fairly easily, even though it wasn't even close. But as this thing grows and becomes something, as I have a feeling it's not going to turn into some catastrophe down the road because you guys are actually handling it very, very professionally and very well. But it seems like, well, you get a desert and you get a bunch of people with cool T-shirts. That's what's going to happen.
Yep. It's like if Burning Man was like 10%, okay, maybe not 10%, 20% less wild, and it was a ton of nerds in the middle of nowhere, which I guess it is in the middle of nowhere. But that is Burning Man of rocketry. That is us. So
with safety protocols, of course.
Yes,
with safety.
Yes, full safety protocols.
Wow, well, it's just such incredible having you on to chat about it. And I think the future's bright in the hobby because of you and everybody else that participated in this event, and to bring it out there and to show people, and let's bring the kids in, man. And you got the new space races happening with like SpaceX and that other company that complains about not getting a lander contract and all this other stuff. But there's so much excitement going on. So you are helping to to promote the hobby and to get kids and younger adults into something that they may never have done before. So for that, I say thank you.
It's an honor. I'm very excited.
Well, as you communicate more with, everybody that was attending your event and those who just kind of went to go that are on your email list, make sure that you, keep pushing them to get a rocket, build it. They don't even have to go certify. They just need fly something on an F or a G, or, if they want to fly on an H to get level 1 certified, go up, the levels like you are trying to do with your level 2, keep those people in that hobby, because that's what we want. That's what we want to see. And, this next generation has to continue and grow. And that's what we're excited for.
Well, and the thing that I find interesting is, like, I got into rocketry because of my son, to do something with my son, and I got back into it. But I did run into a couple of clubs where I met CG at a rocket launch and a couple other guys. And the sense of community was phenomenal for me at the time. And I learned so much from everybody. You guys are doing the exact same thing. And it's just a different generation, or whatever. But it's the same exact sense of community that I felt when I first got back into rocketry, 7, 8 years ago now. And it's just a little different the way that you guys approach it. But all the pieces are there, and you're doing it the right way. And I think it's awesome, because every generation is going to do things a little differently. That's awesome. Let it happen. And I'd like to be a part of that. So I've had my hot nozzle launches already. So there you go.
Yeah. One of our, thank you for saying that, by the way. I really appreciate it. But one of our things as that I relayed to the staffers, and that some people brought up who were staffers, was like, yo, all of our staffers need to go to more launches in the next year. Like, we need you to go and learn more about rocketry, go have fun, take back that knowledge to Hot Nozzle. It is not a one-time event and then you wait until next year. Oh, kitty.
Right.
This is a lot more than just that. We need people to get really excited to the point where they're like, okay, where's my, where's the next launch? Where am I going?
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something we encourage.
What's the best glue?
No.
Learn. Oh, in terms of epoxy,
Building.
Is that what you're asking?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well,
what do you use?
Okay, we're
what
sponsored
you
by
guys
Total
have?
Boat.
Of course.
Okay.
We're sponsored by Total Boat, so
we knew that.
best rocket epoxy. Well,
Okay,
pseudo
give us your
but-
coupon code. 'Cause I know you got
That's
one.
what I'm saying. That's what I really want for next year, is to talk to, Apogee and Lock and be like, can we have a coupon code so it's our people? But Total Boat was super awesome. They sent us a ton of epoxy.
Here's another quick question. I'll do a quick round of a few questions here. What brand of rockets were flown mostly?
Oh gosh, good question.
Because your first rocket, I think, was a Mad Cow, according to Xyla, right? And then your second one is a Lock Iris, right? So what other rocket manufacturers did you see out there?
Oh my gosh. Good question.
Mad Cow, Lock, Apogee,
Lots of Apogee.
Those
we
Zephyrs.
had, I should go look at the flight cards.
Yeah, there you go.
I should go look at the flight cards, but a lot of, I was working on ops a lot, so
Okay.
I didn't, but I can definitely get that data for you, but probably, if I had to guess, more Mad Cow, if anything.
Okay.
But yeah.
And the reason I asked that question is just to kind of let, other manufacturers, kind of shine on that, because where that location is, Mad Cow is very close to it. So I would assume that getting some of the parts there would be easier, The next question I have is, what kind of motors were primarily flown? What brand?
Okay.
I should really look at look at the flight cards for Cesaroni versus Aerotech, but I want to say I saw more Aerotech by a slim margin. But all of my staffers love being saying Cesaroni in an accent with a chef hand, Cesaroni. So we
We do that.
We love
do that.
when we get Oh, do you? Okay, good.
We do.
So every time we saw Cesaroni, we had a full day with
Cesaroni.
it. So
Okay.
Cesaroni.
And what impulse you think was flown more? You think you got more H's, I's, or J's, or what do you think? What did you remember? Just hearing the launches being announced.
Probably I's, if
That
I
would
had
make
to
sense.
say.
Okay.
Yeah, I know there were more L1s than L2s, but there were a decent amount of L2s. I think there were 18 L2s.
Double digits?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely
Wow.
double digits, because the more experienced people rolled up with L2s. We were going to have 2 L3s,
Okay.
but they got de-scoped a little bit, so they just flew beefy L2s instead. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
on Twitter, I did see a few people actually did get L3s there, so that's kind of cool to watch. So I like to follow, flights and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
how many flights do you think actually happened during the event?
45. That much I know because I remember,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
And most of them were the first day. I would say like 35 were Saturday and then
Okay.
like 10 the day after for the people who are like, oh man, I still have a little bit of work to do. So then Sunday was us being like,
Okay.
all right, everyone gather around these rockets. How can we get them off the rail? So
Gotcha. No, that's cool. It sounded cool, guys. I mean, the protocols you had in place. I mean, honestly, we go to a lot of launches where they haven't even touched a lot of that stuff. So I mean, you guys did it
Yeah,
up right.
you guys went over above and beyond that, which is great. Because you
I'm
needed to
proud to
prove
hear it.
something, right? Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, once I like got a lot of people being like, Jenna, you can't do this. I was like, oh, but watch me. I am going to succeed out of spite and also for the hobby, but like a little, like 2% because I was like, man, I need to prove this. So
Yes.
I'm excited for you
Totally
guys,
respect, man.
Yeah.
Total respect.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Jenna, thanks for joining us on the show talking about Hot Nozzle Summer. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you
Really
so
was.
much for having me. I had the best time talking to you all, and I really hope that people continue to have a hot nozzle summer into their fall. Just hot nozzle vibes all around. Be a hot nozzle homie. So
There you go.
Amen.
So many
Looking forward to
hashtags.
hearing more about it.
So many hashtags
right.
were spoken right there.
so many.
Yes.
Oh, so many.
All right. Well, you have a good one. Enjoy your rocket build, and looking forward to hearing more from you. And we hope to be able to be at the next Hot Nozzle Summer major event and covering that one because it sounds like a lot of fun. All righty. Thanks to Jenna Kay for joining us from the Johnson Space Center in Houston. That was a lot of fun talking to her. And hopefully maybe it'll inspire some of you if you're on the fence for rocketry to get involved with rocketry with Hot Nozzle Summer. And if you're already into rocketry and you're a seasoned professional, so to speak, seasoned professional hobbyist, then maybe it'll help you to know where to go to help out with Hot Nozzle Summer, to be, what a safety person, whatever it takes, But I think it's exciting that the next generation of Rocketeers are organizing and doing these things, and they're doing it on their own.
Yeah, getting involved.
And they're doing it right too. They're not just like doing something haphazard. They're putting in the planning into it and putting a marketing plan together too, which is funny. But safety wise and everything else, it's just really tight knit, and I like that.
Exactly.
Let's see here. The next show up, I believe we'll have Conway Stevens joining us next time out, right? So that should be a cool one. And if you haven't checked out the Model Rocket Show yet, it's they've got the Frank Burke from Dinosaur Rocketry as the guest on that. So check that out when you get a chance, if you haven't done that already. But
It's
right
a good
now,
episode.
yes, it
He
is.
goes through so much detail.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And by the way, we're rolling into the patron section, by the way. So we're going to start the transition, and this is a perfect spot to do that. For patrons of the show, we're doing stuff for our patrons that are special on Patreon, and so you get bonus things. And on that note of Frank Burke, we are finishing up the video editing of the Frank Burke interview, and so you'll be able to watch that on Patreon pretty soon, and as well as a video version of this episode that'll post up on the website. And these video versions now are going to be slightly different from what you hear on the podcast. The podcast is a little more polished, and edited wise. And the videos, while there's some production going on with scene switching and things like that, the videos are more or less like the raw interview as it happened. So that's for your patrons. That's a kind of a peek behind the scenes. You get to see what's a little different, but we do really edit and polish up the shows that are on the podcast. And for the patrons, you kind of get a sneak peek of as to what, because there'll be things in the interview that you'll see and hear on the video that aren't on the show. And a lot of that just has to do with when we produce the show, when we're doing interviews, a lot of times the interviews are kind of stream of consciousness type answers from our guests. So Some guests we don't really edit that much. Others we edit quite a bit. One of the things we clean up on the show is some of the stepping on each other kind of thing. So there's a little bit of chaos that goes on when we're doing this show that on the podcast you never hear. That
Always.
So the video, you hear somebody, you'll see some of what I'm talking about on there. So just so you know what you're up to. But it's a cool sneak behind the scenes, sneak peek behind the scenes. Yeah, that's it. Of what's
a little
going
extra
on.
thank you. A little extra thank you for you guys,
Yeah.
you know?
A little peek behind the curtain. You see a little bit of how the sausage gets made. So, so there you go.
Production.
And right now it's time for this new segment we're putting together for our patrons of the show. Basically a different way of thanking folks. So don't panic when you didn't hear the patron things during the commercial breaks as usual. It's getting to the point now that we're getting a lot of patrons. So we figured at the end of the show, we'll do a special thing thanking the patrons and doing shout outs to you. If you send messages to us from an episode or whatever, we will respond to those in this segment from the patrons. So a lot of fun stuff. And the first thing I would like to do, and this is the first podcast with this, is to acknowledge, well, there's a couple things that we really have to thank the patrons for. One thing. One, when I was out of work for over a year with the whole COVID crap, that the patron support really helped. I hated doing that, but it really helped to keep the lights on for me so I can keep doing the show. But now that I'm working and not having to do that, the money's gone right back into the show 100% again. In fact, I'm kind of repaying into it. But the very first item we've got for everybody were our spanking new microphones for the new Jeem and Jesse. So if they sound a little
and we
different,
love them. They are so nice.
Yes, they are. They work very well. You can hear the difference, I hope.
Oh, tons.
Oh, yeah. The biggest difference is on Jesse. His voice always sounded weird on the other mic before, no matter what I would do in post. So now he sounds like Jesse.
Yep, this is how I sound.
So it's pretty cool. So we thank you for both of those things. And there's more to come. We're able to put more back into the show here. And so that is a fun thing. And while we're on that, let's start thanking some of these patrons here. These patrons have been supporting The Rocketry Show. We're going to name them off to say a special thanks to you. We've got Todd West and Jonah Cheney, Matt Tudor, also Joseph Petro, Les Rayburn, who's been a long-time supporter of the show, pretty much from day one. So that's kind of cool. So has Steven Spencer and Bill Cook, along with Jason Cook. And it's very nice to have Gary. Yeah, and it's very nice to have Gary Rosenfield as a patron of the show. Felt honored when that happened. Greg Ziegler, Toby Vanderbeek, another long-timer there.
Toby. Everybody knows Toby.
Everybody knows Toby. Thanks, Toby. Ken Blade as well, and Eric Hamilton. John Beans.
Thanks, Eric.
John Beans goes a while back, too. He became a patron shortly after he was a guest on the show. So thank you, John, for sticking around this whole time. Yeah. Scott Holla, as well as Guy Wadsworth and Phil P., another long-timer there, as well as Tom Rum. Stephen Ray is another one. It's been a long-time support. I believe he is over in the Geneseo gang, Flight the Warplane Museum. So, so thanks for helping out there. Amanda Hull, new one, but steady. Thanks for your support. Steve Sainer as well. And Mark, you've been around forever, too. Railbuttons.com. It's great to have them as a supporter of the show doing the patron thing. And we've got to get them on the show to talk about those rail buttons because they have some cool stuff. I always assume that everybody knows about railbuttons.com, but maybe they don't. So it'd be good to have them on and see what they're up to. And then we have Todd West as well. So those are the people I would like to start off with thanking as for being patrons of the show. It's been great. And who else do we have here?
But wait, there's more.
Yes.
We have Timothy Mock, thank you. Jeff Curtis, Phil Bridges, Marcelo Fracassa.
He's a new
Ron
one.
Tyson. Yeah, it sounds like there's a couple new ones here. Roy Tyson, Norman Perkel.
Hey, Norman, thank you.
Rob Hoagie, R. Smith, Gary Dow, he's been there.
I met Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Met Gary at LDRS. Thank you, Gary.
Joe Poman, Don Johnson. Thanks, John. We met Pierre Marloux, Jeff Curtis. Thanks, Jeff.
Yes.
Philip Calvin, Jay Bryan,
That's
Casey
another long-timer
Anderson.
Casey Anderson is local to us. He's
yes, he is
in our club. Yeah.
Casey, shout out to Casey. We got Mark Essenwine, Jim Wilson, Jim Burgess of Paradise Rocketry.
Jimmy, thank you, Jimmy.
Scott Masters. Yay, thanks, Jimmy. Jason Oskella. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but thank you. George Rackord Jr.
And Charlie Harnett there, too.
And Charlie Harnett.
So Charlie Harnett's new. I talk to that guy every day, so thanks, Charlie. Really appreciate it.
I'm going to point out, too, is if we're not... We try our best to say the names as best we can when we see them. So if we're saying them wrong or one of us is saying them wrong, just shoot us a note in Patreon. We'll be happy to pronounce
it up.
Wherever your preferred way is, by the way.
For sure. Hey, we got some vendors, too, that help out, with the patron. JohnRocket.com is one of them. So thanks, you guys, for helping us out.
Yeah, thanks.
Jason Rodney, your name's been there for a while. Thank you so much. Master Conway Stevens, he's one of our local flyers, and he made a big comeback last year. So thank you, Conway, for your help and support.
Welcome back.
Kyle Lemke, he's a annual supporter. So thank you, Kyle, for signing up for long term. That's awesome. Paul Olivieri, you've heard your name for a while, so thank you so much. That was
a long time.
I heard a lot of these. Yeah, a long time. These names, some of these names I've heard before I even became a host. So thanks everybody. Slime fan, Sam Feinberg. Sorry, Sam, but yes, thank you so much. And our good friend John Sicker, who all of us talked to at some point. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
We can't wait to have you on the show at some point too.
Yes, John's going to be playing a role. He's been pretty busy with his job, but he's going to be doing some stuff with us on the show with some deep dive episodes, as well as some stuff for the patrons only. So more on that as we go rolling forward.
Exactly. Sean Falkingham, also an annual supporter. Thank you for the long term. Really appreciate your help with that. Brian Schenkenberger. You see Brian a lot on a lot of the forums. Thank you, Brian, for your help and support. Really appreciate it. Hunnell. I'm sorry. We've heard your name for a while, so thank you so much. John Thompson, from NAR. Got to meet him at LDRS.
Yep.
Thank you so much, John. It was an honor to see you.
He goes way back as well.
Oh, yeah. Mark McBride, Doug Wade, C. McCauley, Carl Hunting. All these names, we've just had on there forever. So really, really thank everybody for your support. And then, we have some organizations, too. The Piedmont Student Launch Team. You guys have heard that name for a really long time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris Irving. Hey, Chris. We had him on the show, and that was fun.
Yep.
That was so fun. David Simmons. Thank you so much. My good buddy, Scott Binder from SBR Rocketry. His email address, his website is fusionrocket.biz. Go check out SBR. They're still doing some stuff. Thank you, Scott, for your help. John Kusher, Kelsey Black, Trucker Jim, Mr. Jim Wilson. I just recently friended you on Facebook.
I love that
Thank
name.
you so much for your help.
Handle.
Oh, he's great. He's great. Brian Reniker, thank you so much for your support. We've heard your name for quite some time. And then, just here in August, we got Jerry Krause and Justin O'Neill, who just signed up as patrons. So thank you guys so much. This is really awesome. Really, really appreciate your help and support.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again for everything and all your help.
Yes, if you want to join these the patrons on the show and become one yourself, just go to support.TheRocketryShow.com and become a patron and keep the show rolling. A lot of the daily bills that are incurred by doing this show are covered by the patrons for the most part. We do have our sponsors on the show, and basically the way things are partitioned, the money that comes in from the advertising pays for some of the what we call, like every quarter we set goals for things that we need and do. So a lot of that stuff is taken care of from our commercial sponsors. The patrons are the source of what keeps all the charges for the websites paid for. Also in the hosting
equipment.
of the web. Some of the equipment too, but primarily most of that goes to the hosting of the websites, the hosting for the files for the podcast, because you got to pay folks to do that, and all the ancillary services that we use, like SpeakPipe and even the phone lines that we use on the for doing business on the show. All that. There's when you start ramping up on a podcast like this, it's amazing the amount of money that piles up from nickel and dimes here and there that's a cost to doing the show. So So between the patrons and the commercial sponsors, you guys help us out with that and keep the bills paid, and also allows us to get gear. So like we just did. So we've got a nice brand new equipment set up that we can do on location shows from. And coming out of COVID and all that crazy stuff, that stuff has just been sitting there waiting to go. So I'm dying to, you know what I'm trying to do, Gene? I'm switching things around in my world so that I'm free on the Tripoli Mid-Ohio dates. Go down to fly when that starts up, because it's always happening when I have the kids. So I switch things around so that those weekends are free, because before I had the local launch free, but there's always something going on with our local field that means you might get one day out of a whole year to fly locally. Meanwhile, you guys are going down to Tripoli, Mid-Ohio, like constantly launching things. I'm going, man. So I switched it up.
See how I wrangled. How I wrangle the kids. So that's why I don't get any recordings from there, because I'm too busy being a coach.
So what I'm hoping to do is maybe take that stuff down on one of the Tripoli Mid-Ohio shows, because there's a larger cross-section of Rocketeers who are listening to the show down there that I only get to see every so often. So it'd be kind of cool to go down and set up and just do something while things are flying for a little bit down there with some of the folks. So
that'd be awesome.
Bless our new gear on location. So anyway, so thanks a lot, patrons, and that's what that's all about there. So cool. Without the patrons, as well as our commercial sponsors, the show would be way more primitive than it is, and back in the Stone Ages. And it's amazing, you know, with that support from both of you, we managed to get into the point where we're about to start on the beginnings of year number 8. So once we get to October, that'll be 7 years of the podcast. So
that's incredible to think. I mean, all that time. I mean, wow. I knew so little back then about any of this stuff. I still don't know much, but I learned a little bit.
I think we all did. And the crazy thing about it is we came in just as we were in the beginning of this phase of podcasting. And I call this kind of like, I don't know what to call it. If it's podcast, it's not really a 2.0 phase, but it's kind of like a transition point, because shortly after we started, podcast went from what it was to the form that you see it now. And it all happened, that transition point was shortly after we started, when you started having new podcasts like Serial and things like that coming on the scene, that kind of redefined in people's minds what it meant to do a podcast. So with all those changes, trying to keep up with it all, we've all learned a lot in this new, and it's still changing, and it's going to keep changing. So that's what's so fun about it.
And we're part of it.
I love listening to the old episodes. I mean, at some point, I'd love to get into your archives before what's available. I listen to some of the ones, I miss Noob being on the show sometimes, because he added so much, stuff with you guys, and it was a different type of follow-in. I feel my role is a little different than his, but I appreciate your guys giving me the opportunity for this. But, I get just excited listening to those old shows with you guys and Noob, just like I would as if we had just recorded it. And just so everybody knows, when we record these episodes, sure, I'm part of the show, right? But I got to tell you, when CG posts that this show is ready, I pop it on as soon as I can, because I want to hear it, how you guys hear it, and it just excites me, and it just blows my mind every time. So GM and CG, you guys do one heck of a job, and Noob, you do a heck of a job with, Model Rocket Show, and I'm just honored to be part of the team. So thanks, guys.
Yes, and the Model Rocket Show is one where we're all of us are kind of actively working on in the background with that show now. Noob is the host, and now we're all helping out to try to help Noob take it to the next level. And so hopefully you'll be noticing that in the next few episodes coming in. Not that it was bad before, it was excellent before, but he was kind of dragging that cross on his shoulder all by himself. And in the last year or so, with all the craziness going on, it's really tough for everybody to do something extra right now. And for him, it's been like really crazy. So we're all kind of jumping in, and hopefully that'll give some, you'll feel that in the episode and the upcoming shows. And Jesse filling in on that one is another step in that direction. So we'll be able to fill in as needed as well.
I was honored too, because it was Frank. I mean, I love I love talking to Frank. I mean, he's great and fun to talk to just on the field. And when you get to see him fly, guys, I mean, you guys at some point in your life will see Frank Burke fly his gliders. And I could go on forever. I'm sorry.
What are you trying to say, Jesse?
Can't wait.
He's great about talking about him. He's great talking about gliders. I mean, he knows his stuff. Really does.
Excellent. So anyway, I guess it's time for us to get on out of here, and we'll see you next time here at The Rocketry Show, TheRocketryShow.com. And I'm not going to talk about what's coming up on the Model Rocket Show. There's some exciting stuff in the works. So stay close on that one. Keep your ear out. It's going to be a good one. So, alrighty. On that note,
keep your eyes in the skies.
All righty, we'll see you later, everyone. Thanks for listening to The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com.
Have a comment? We'd love to hear it. Send them to mailbag@TheRocketryShow.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, don't forget to check out our sister show, TheModelRocketShow.com. The Model Rocket Show is hosted by the Rocket Noob and is all about low to mid-power rocketry. TheModelRocketShow.com with Daniel, the Rocket Noob. Check it out today. The views and opinions expressed on these programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Little Beth Entertainment or its sponsors.